Yes, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another podcast.
Right.
Like the way you drink. So Gladys is still putting some stuff up here to bring her food, bring her drink up. It's going to be an exciting podcast because I got something today that
I underdid the steak just a little bit.
I've never had this, but I do have this. I've had the steaks.
Want to babysit it for a second to cook it a little more?
Look at that. She doesn't realize we can hear her. Anyway, because basically her microphone's open, but she has headphones to listen, so she can't hear us. So we could talk about her while she's not on the air. Anyway, so tonight's episode, we're going to talk about a little bit of the Scotch and some steak bites. So what we made for steak bites, and we just said steak bites, so I don't know how Gladys is going to do hers. But basically, I took a nice steak that was done with, it was a flank steak, and I basically cut it up into pieces, and then I chopped it down. And what I would do from there was, after I chopped it down, I then put I have a basket in my for like doing vegetables on my grill. I put it back in the basket and I tossed it in there, still over the flame for another minute. So that makes it a very interesting steak bite. As you can see, some of them still have some pink center, but a lot of them are a little warm. And I still have probably about 10 times this out in the kitchen. So, nice. And then drink-wise, okay, go ahead. Show us what you got. You got some tater too, don't you?
Yeah, no, actually, that's hummus.
Hummus
with some goat cheese, and this is a tenderloin. It's slightly. I would have preferred it cooked a little bit longer, but I was trying to mess with the system. I had pulled it. I didn't want to leave it any longer, so I pulled it off. But even after resting, I'm like, oh, it still needs to be cooked a little bit more. But and then I have some nuts, and then I didn't grab my little taster, so let me grab that.
So yeah, and I'll show you. It's like, so I've got, as you see, some of mine had some pink into them, but some of my bits are like, really brown all the way through. But some of them, and I'll cut this one. And again, might have been done for a couple minutes here, but some of them here, like this one here's got a little pink to it. So you can see the pinkish towards the center still.
You gotta have the
pink. I like a deep pink inside of my steak. It's just the way I am.
Yeah. This one's a little too rare for my taste. I usually like it. See, I like that rare. Mm-hmm. That's my level of rare. But this one is a little bit more rare. So that's okay. It's a tenderloin, so I'll give it a.
So and then we were talking about drinks. Now, I tried to find sample bottles of Scotch. Nobody has them.
Right. Really? The funny thing is that I had left my bottles at home, and I'm in California. And so it took multiple stops at multiple places and went to Bevmo. And Bevmo had Glenlivet 12.
Of course.
And they had one Macallan. This was like the last little Macallan guy. So he's like suggested going to the liquor store, going to Bonds. I'm like, dude, well, I've already been to 4 different liquor stores, but my brother took me to one more, and they had John Barr. So this is a blended. It's called a reserve blend. So it's a blended Scotch whiskey. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, who the heck are these people? I'm like, do I even trust them? So I thought it was kind of funny, but they actually, I was like looking into it, and there's a whole history in there. So I thought that was kind of cool. Because they said in our house, so they want to make sure that that you feel at home. And there are various locations that they call nuestro barrio. So our I guess where we hang out, our home, our backyard, whatever you want to call it. So that was kind of cool to see that. And the person that started it was actually John Barr. And he was a whiskey man. He was born in Dufftown, Speyside, and he was in a whiskey making family. And so he got into a position of prominence in life and in the industry. And so he was traveling the globe as an ambassador to the Scotland signature spirit, and then brought a richer blend to the world. But started the distillery because he wanted to unite the Highland malt and green whiskies structure, and then the space side variety for mellow finish. So it is selected, it's blended as third generation master blender whose time honored approach to whiskey making. It's supposed to have this reserve blend with a distinctive reward taste profile. So I'm like, you know what? I will taste this. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it. It is a blended Scotch, so it's not a true single malt Scotch. I would prefer a single malt Scotch,
Mhm.
although Glenlivet is my go-to over Macallan. So Macallan is this is the double cast, and what makes Macallan special is that they use sherry oak versus the American oak. So
Mhm.
it's one of their biggest, and so this is the little bottles. So those are
So, and I'm just curious, how much money did you spend to get what you got?
This was $13. This one was $7, and this was $2.50. So with the tax and everything, it was probably $25 for all three of them.
Okay.
When
Nobody had small, so I had to buy bottle. And like,
So
I'm not buying
$60
multiple at
$60
the
each.
$65 bottle.
Oh, good choice. So usually Glenlivet is my go-to.
Yeah.
But if I have a Glenfiddich 14, I will choose a Glenfiddich 14
Yeah,
over a
no,
Glenlivet.
they had a couple of Glenlivet 14s, but you want to guess the price point here in Texas.
Oh gosh. So normally here at Glenlivet is running now. I used to be able to get the Glenlivet 12 for like $45, and then it
12's around 60.
I was gonna say it's now at
It's around
60.
60. What do you think the 14 is?
Probably 110.
About $110 here in Texas. You know, but then again, I've got 2 bottles of Angel's Envy at 110 bottles up there.
So I did buy a little Angel's Envy for my brother, so that he can taste to see how he likes it. So I did get this one. This one ran $10 for this little guy. So, but the Angel's Envy, depending on what you're getting, if you're getting the regular, it's about $86. If you're getting the rye, you're looking at about 110.
Yeah.
So yeah,
in a regular, I was going to actually. I noticed a small bottle of it. I almost was going to grab small, but I'm like, nah. Yeah. I've got $200 of it here now. Right.
Well, see, in Oregon, I can get the little guys. I can get the 350, and I can get the 750. So sometimes it's like the 350 is fine. You know, yeah, you're going to spend more if you but I could probably get a 375 milliliter of Glenlivet for probably $25 in Oregon. So $7 for this little guy was actually not bad, but I think I can get this one for probably $5.50 in Oregon. Macallan, that one's pricey. So the Glenlivet 12, the regular 750 milliliter bottle, it runs close to $80 now. But if you look at Macallan runs just under $100. It's probably around the $96 price point. That's on the 12. You get anything above that, you're looking at over $100.
Yeah.
John Barr this one's new to me, so I don't know what the price point, but when I did look it up, I think it was like $41 at Bevmo for the regular size. So these are my 3 little guys that I'm going to taste on this guy first, because I got to taste to see how it is. But of course, I'm going to like the Glenlivet. The Macallan is going to be smokier.
While you do that, I'm going to grab a sauce real quick to go with my steak.
Okay. So when you are looking at these, if you can get those small ones, it's great, but you can't always get them. I'm a little spoiled in Oregon. I do get to, I do. Ooh, here's my microphone. I dropped it. In Oregon, I get a lot of just everything. So anything I need, I'm going to find it. The only time I don't find something is if it's like something from Texas, like the Dripping Springs. I can't get it here. So there's certain things that I can't get, but for the most part, a lot of everything else I'm going to get. And now, mind you, both Tim and I are in controlled states. So he's in Texas, I'm in Oregon. We have to go to liquor stores to find the things. In California, you can find liquor, at the grocery store, at the, CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens. And so it's a little different, and it depends on where you're going, if they have certain things and other times they don't. This particular Bethmo that only had these two, they were very limited on what they could have in order to appease the pressure they're getting because they were really close to a school. So there are a lot of things that come into play with things of that sort. Now, when we're looking at what you want, sometimes you have to go, oh, you know what, I'll suck it up, buttercup, just because you want certain things, but you may not be able to get it just because of where you are. So keep that in mind as you search for the things that you prefer to drink. Now with John Bar, this is supposed to be rich aromas of chocolate, baked sweet apple, and baked bread, which I never had heard anything described that way. Some apricot, gingerbread, hazelnut, and a lingering maple finish. So those are some of the things to look for. And then of course with the when you're blending it with the steak like this, you also want to add like some cheese. So in this particular case, we have the goat cheese that goes with the steak, because you got to try it because it'll have a different flavor. So don't forget the cheese, because that's important. The hummus, I put it on the same plate, but I will be tasting that separately. My brother got me another piece that's a little bit more cooked. So to my brother. So John Bar is going to be my first guy that I'm going to taste, because it has a good smell. I was expecting a little bit more of believe me, can I get shine in Oregon? Yes, I can. I get various moonshines out here. There are some that I can't get, but then again, Tim can't get it either, even though he's a little bit closer. So that's a pretty color. It does have a nice aroma to it.
I got something else for food that I will sample with this tonight.
Corn. I almost picked up corn.
Baby.
I almost picked up some corn. I will tell you that. I
just got it in the refrigerator today, and I'm like, that's got to go with this tonight.
Right. And I thought about that. I was like, oh my goodness, I should have, but there are so many things that you can pair with Scotch. Now, cheeses is one of them. In this case, I decided to go with the goat cheese because I felt that it would go very well with the steak. So some of those cheeses, if you're doing a light to medium cheese, and you can go with, just so many different. I grabbed originally a white cheddar. I ended up putting it back because I thought, you know what, if I have this tenderloin, I want a goat cheese. Even though I'm not a huge goat cheese fan, I still think that goat cheese goes very well with the steak, especially if you have a delicious cut like a tenderloin. So if you're going to go with an Aberlour has this very nice. No, Aberlour is more of a round bottle. So I really like Aberlour. The 12 is delicious. The 18 is even better. But it goes very well without overpowering, because you don't want the cheese to overpower your Scotch, nor your Scotch overpowering your cheese. So Aberlour, I think Glenlivet 12 would also go nice with the light to medium cheeses. And you can also do cream cheeses, goat cheeses. So I would put the Aberlour and the Glenlivet in the same category. The Oban and the Macallan, because in my opinion, they're a little bit more oaky flavor, not much, just a little bit. They have more peat, but not overly peaty, because there is Ardbeg that is just like, it tastes like seaweed. It's a very, very peaty. And so that would be a little bit stronger. They do suggest chocolate, but chocolate is so specific. If you are doing fruit, nothing citrusy. The citrus does not go with Scotch. You want your apples, your apricots, your pears. Those are the things that are going to go with your Scotches. Seafood, you want a rich seafood. So I wouldn't go with shrimp, because with shrimp, you're going to have more of a sweetness in there if you put lemon on it. If I'm going to do seafood, I'm going to do a salmon. I'm going to do a halibut, a little bit richer, something that would handle the Scotch. I wouldn't go with the light fish like a tilapia. Sea bass, yes.
Good sea bass.
Yeah, you want something that's going to have great flavor. Okay, I'm going to dig into this because I'm like so curious about this delicious tenderloin with the cheese, and then I'm going to taste it with Mr. John Bar here. Oh, that's one good.
That was just, so I'm going to next I'm going to go to my juiciest piece of steak I have left. Then I'm going to go to my more well-done burnt pieces.
Uh-huh.
because I want to test. I want to test this raw, just cooked. I don't want to add the sauce to it. So, of course, the steak. And now I finished cooking my steak about 35 minutes ago.
Okay.
So it's still not a warm temperature on my plate at this point, but
Oh, the hummus actually goes very well with the John Bar. I'm like, okay, that's a good one to pair. So that's John Bar with hummus, not bad. I'm gonna go hummus, and then I'm gonna go with Glenlivet. These are my sister-in-laws, aren't they adorable?
they're cute. But
And
I
they
gotta
were,
have glasses like this. So
yeah, I wanted to have the same size for everything so that it didn't. So this is what was all the same size, and I didn't want to put it into a wine glass, so I'll go with this.
So that's my first. So you guys know this is one of my first times to actually have Scotch with a steak.
Oh, so usually
I did have when we were on vacation last week. I did have I think it was a Glenlivet 12 that they had at the bar. I don't remember what I ate with it because we were probably doing snacks at the bar,
right.
and you know what I mean. I just I figured I'd try it while I was there. So but coming home and putting it with a steak, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it has such a great flavor. I still think an Angel's Envy would go very well with the steak.
I'm sorry. I'm going to say this is not a bad taste to me, but I'm still going to prefer a bourbon or an Angel's Envy, bourbon whiskey to it, or maybe even a some of my Iron Wolf, possibly even that Woodford Reserve we had with Alex a couple weeks ago.
Well, the one thing with Scotch is that when you taste it, it has one flavor. If you add just a few drops of water, it'll open it up and it'll have a completely different taste where you just go, wow, this, it kind of just opens.
I don't have water in here, but put an ice cube in it.
Yep, you can do an ice cube. Usually if I have it, it's like I want a big ice cube so that it gets cold and it melts very, very slowly. So that's the way that I usually, when I make an old fashioned, yes, you can make an old fashioned with Scotch. Should you? And some people love it. I would rather have a bourbon in my old fashioned, a rye whiskey. That's my preference. But have I made an old fashioned with Scotch? Yes, I have. Has it been a while? It's been years, because frankly, I still prefer a bourbon or an Angel's Envy of Four Roses in my old fashioned. So it just depends on what your preferences are and what your taste buds like.
It changed the smell when I put the cube in it.
It's like it was ever so slightly. I did a women who whiskey of the world some years ago during COVID, and they gave us all these tastings. It was like, oh my goodness, so much. And they had a little dropper so that you can literally just drop 2 or 3 droplets of water into your whiskeys.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
I like that. Wait a minute. You know me, and I'm a neat bourbon guy.
Yeah. But it makes a difference. It truly
does. I didn't put a big cube in it, so I took one of the. I don't want my water from. I took one of my water and I kind of sucked off because there was lemon in my water.
Right.
So I sucked that off and I kind of dripped it out to make sure there was no lemon into it when I put it in here, and just so it's just a cube. Oh my gosh, I might actually be doing Scotch with an ice cube. Just one. I don't think I'd want a big cube on this. I think I'd want a small cube, because if it melts it's like a drop of water.
Yeah. So I usually, if they don't have a big cube, then I will ask them to give me one of the, just one cube. Just give me one cube, because I know it's going to melt, but it's going to be like adding water. Only it helps get it cold. So
I do have to taste one more thing with it, but this is going to get messy.
What you going to do? Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness.
First of all, it's a good piece of corn, but have you ever had a bad piece of corn on cob?
No, there was this corn I had in Hawaii that it was so good. It did not need to be cooked. That's how good it was.
Oh, I've had a lot of those. That you get a good corn, scrape it off and just by itself. Oh my gosh.
Right. Yeah.
So first of all, it's good, but I have it salted and buttered right.
Yeah, you gotta have, even if it's just butter. If I don't put anything else, if I don't make my Mexican street corn, then I just put butter. That's all I want on the corn.
I gotta have more of that.
Oh my goodness, just the sound of it is making my mouth water. Okay, so this steak is so tender, it's so delicious, and with the goat cheese, it has a slight sweetness in that goat cheese, and it went very well. Even though the Macallan has a little bit of a smokier flavor to it, it goes well. So I really enjoy this. This is a good one. And I truly enjoy just sipping on a Scotch. That was always, either neat with a few droplets of water or one big ice cube. That's always been my preference. It's just kind of fun. And I have, over the last year, I don't do it as much because I started switching into other things and trying new things and making different cocktails. So, just trying to try new things, but it's still, when I go back to a Scotch, it's like, oh, it's just perfect.
Well, for me, this is a new thing. Oh.
But I never would have tried hummus with Scotch.
Scotch, yeah. Well, I'm not a hummus fan, so that's going to be a tough one for me.
It went the best with the John Bar. I think the John Bar, because it is a blend, it went well with the nuttiness, because nuts is another thing you can match up with your Scotch. So if you're going with sweeter nuts, like versus bitter nuts or roasted nuts, then it depends on, again, Spanish nuts, macadamias will complement something like a blended Scotch, in my opinion, or even not this particular Macallan, but maybe a different Macallan than this one. But those Scotches that are more bitter, like maybe a Glenlivet. There is a Caribbean Reserve that is absolutely delicious, and it's actually less expensive than the Glenlivet 12. Glenmorangie Nectar, or the Brand Couve. Those are some that will go with those bitter nuts. And peanuts, cashews, walnuts. Well, then you want something a little bit more smoky.
Yeah.
Ardbeg is one that I would absolutely consider to smoky, because it's more peaty, truly the best. It's like, I call it smoky, so most people will understand smokiness, that oaky smoky. But if you say peaty, most people can't associate peat, because it's such a specific flavor. There is an Ardbeg that is so peaty that it tastes like seaweed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's like, I was tasting it. I was going, oh my goodness, this tastes like seaweed. And they're like, yeah, it's supposed to, because it's so peaty. So that's one that I'm like, okay, that's a little too much. So anything that's too peaty, I don't enjoy as much. I don't want to be I don't want to be drinking my cigar. It's like, I want the cigar separate. But you can have also, seafood, just not anything that is anything that's citrusy. So you don't want to pair it with anything too citrusy. You can do oysters also. You can do some smoky, salty, and tangy options that are going to complement. But anything that will complement anything that smokiness is going to be those that, like your Ardbegs, those that are a little bit stronger will go with that. Anything that might be like that has the blackened, again, the blackened, because it is stronger, I feel that would go very well with something that has a lot of peat. But not if I want to have sushi, then I'm going to go with like a Glenlivet. I'm going to go with an Aberlour because it's milder. So if you're having sushi, go with something milder. But if I'm actually having sushi, I'm going to have a Japanese whiskey instead, or sake, or
Well,
beer.
yeah.
You know? But if you are going to go with Scotch, I would go with something lighter, something that's going to go down just beautifully, like the Glenlivet. Glenlivet 12, I will tell y'all, there's a few reasons I really like Glenlivet. One of them is because it is very smooth to drink. I love my single malt Scotch, at least 12-year-old. If I hit an 18-year-old, that's like my ultimate. Absolutely love it because it just has even a better flavor. But at least a 12-year-old single malt Scotch. If I go to a bar and I order a Glenlivet, the price point on this is a heck of a lot better than if I'm getting a 14 or an 18.
Yeah.
If I'm going to spend that kind of money on a 14 or 18, you know what? I might as well go, buy a bottle, because they're going to charge me $18 to $26. And I can get one for $80 to $110,
Yeah.
so to me, it doesn't make sense. Whereas a Glenlivet 12, depending again on where you're going, it's going to run between $8 to $15, maybe $16 for the most part. About $12 is where this is going to land. So it's not going to hurt that it's like, yeah, I know I can get the bottle for $80 or $70.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this one is an easy drink. Not all of your single malts are going to be this easy to drink. Your Macallan, this one's going to be a little bit more oaky. It's going to have a little bit of a stronger flavor. And then if you go with the blended Scotch, Johnny Walker is a blended Scotch. That one is also, it has that sweetness in there sometimes, or it's very more versatile, if you would. So it just depends on your preference. But I will say that this goat cheese, again, I'm not a huge goat cheese fan, but if you got a delicious tenderloin, it goes very well. And with the goat cheese, with this tenderloin and the Macallan, very well. The hummus went well with the Glenlivet, but best with the blended. And I think that my steak has gone, and my cheese has gone best with Macallan.
I want to say the corn on the cob went great with all of them. I want to say, if you're going to get a dinner and have Scotch, I would get you a steak on the grill, make you a nice baked potato.
Oh, yes.
Get you some corn on the cob, and then have, I'm trying to debate now because I don't have this. I'm saying probably some like an apple peach cobbler type dessert.
Yeah. I think an apple would be a little bit better than even the peach. I think it would be less.
May be too sweet, but I'm sitting here in my head because I don't have it here, balancing it in my head, trying to go, which flavor is going to bring out more of this Scotch? Not which flavor do I want? Because I like both of them, the apple and the peach. Apple, peach, cherry, blueberry. Those are the four things I love to have in a good.
I would go with an apple because apple and pear and apricot go better with.
No. Pear. Pear.
Yeah.
Oh my God. No, wait, not even into a pie or anything like that. Take a pear. Put a little bit of brown sugar onto it and roast it on your grill. Take that pear off and eat the pear by itself with a spoon with your Scotch.
See, the way that I would do it is that I would use butter with the pear to soften it and give it a little bit of salt and a little bit of sweet, but not too sweet because the brown sugar will sweeten it. And I really don't want it that sweet. So I would just go with like a butter, either salted or unsalted, and then brown it, soften it. I think a pear would go the best because you really don't want sweet with Scotch. It's not the best combination.
Then a pear's got a little more tart to it.
Yes.
Maybe less on the brown sugar, more on the cinnamon.
Yes. I think that would probably.
Maybe even a little bit of nutmeg. That's a combination that's going to take the flavors out of this and light a fire in your mouth, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, if it goes this good with corn.
My mama used to love Scotch. I remember the first time I had her taste Scotch.
Yeah.
It was the Glenlivet.
Okay.
Then she tasted the Abalor, and this was weeks apart. So because I had a bottle of Glenlivet, and then we got to the Abalor, and she liked that, and then she tried the Oban, and I think she really liked the Oban, but I think Abalor was her favorite over Glenlivet. It was just that it just had some rich flavors in there, but it wasn't too oaky, too peaty. It just went very well. So that was what her go-to Scotch was. But frankly, she was going to drink whatever I was drinking. You know, she'd take a sip of my Scotch, give me back my glass. It's like, would you like your own? She's like, no, I'm fine. But she would definitely, you know, just hand over, grab it, and take a sip. So my mama got to enjoy Scotch. I just got her into it, and she really enjoyed it. So she had a few good years of drinking Scotch with me, and we would drink more Scotch than wine and anything else. That was kind of our go-to at home. Was, you know, watch Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune with our little bit of Scotch and share it.
Well, last night I had some steaks, and I cooked some steaks on the grill last night with, and we had some fingerling potatoes that basically go into the oven, and I like to open them up and treat them like I would a baked potato.
Right.
That's
how
I've
done that.
Them, right, and I mean we're talking salt, pepper, butter, sour cream.
Oh yeah.
That's how I want those fingerling potatoes. But we had it with a good red wine and a good. It's got to be a good medium, and I want to say it was a Cab Franc. We had Texas Cab Franc.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Usually, if I'm having red meat like a steak, lamb chop, there's certain deep red wines I want. But
right.
You know what I mean, to me, it's like, you know, those goes with it. Then I would go then to a bourbon that I would have with it, a bourbon whiskey that would go with it. And now I got to say, the third has got to be a Scotch.
Yeah,
I'm probably still not going to have, as much as you know that I love it, I'm still not going to have a Dr. Pepper with my steak.
Yeah, I was going to say Dr. Pepper was what I was about to say. That's right.
I love my Dr. Pepper, but I don't want it with my steak.
Right.
A hamburger, maybe, but a steak, no.
Right.
All right. If I'm at a restaurant and I'm not in the mood to drink, and I'm having a steak for dinner, I'm probably going to drink water. I am not going to. And as a matter of fact, you know, last weekend when we went away for our anniversary, we go to one restaurant that we really love in downtown Fort Worth, and we probably spent half of our budget at that restaurant for one night for our anniversary dinner. I think it was Sunday night we did it.
It's your anniversary. You're allowed to do that.
I know. Yeah. It's a seafood restaurant in downtown Fort Worth. And I tell people, the fact that I tell people that my favorite seafood restaurant is in downtown Fort Worth.
Okay.
Right. And I've eaten at Cook's in Maine. Right. I've eaten at some pretty good ones out there in the West Coast. I've eaten at some seafood greats in the Baltimore, Virginia, you know, Chesapeake Bay area. Guys, I still love that downtown Fort Worth. It's called Waters.
Okay.
All right. However, for my anniversary, I had a prime rib, a piece of prime rib, and scallops on the side with asparagus.
Oh.
And yes, we had a bottle of wine. I don't think I drank. I think we might have went back to the hotel bar, and that's where I had my I think that was the night that I had the Glenlivet, but I might have had Buffalo Trace that night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but and that was the most luxurious meal that we had. Again, that was and of course we had like I think 2 dozen oysters.
Oh, of course. Why not?
It's your anniversary. I mean, that was what cost us the most, was the 2 dozen oysters. And I think we had some calamari, which their calamari is fabulous. Gwen's a huge calamari fan. I looked at the thing, and usually, I mean, there's certain things that they do on specials at that Waters. But that night I was like, I'm having steak and seafood. And I wasn't in the mood for steak and shrimp.
Okay.
I wasn't in the mood for steak and lobster. I did steak and scallop, which is a combination I recommend. I probably next time will try it with some Scotch.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, the Scotch that's all I was drinking for a little bit, and then once we started the podcast, I started trying all sorts of different things, and I
Yeah.
was like, so I have bottles of Scotch I have not opened. One day I said, oh, I'm going to get into my Glenlivet 14, and then I opened it, and it's my 18 bottle was in there, and I went, oh yeah, no, this is for another day, not right now. I want to just drink something mainstream, so I slowly put it back and closed it, and I said, okay, what do I have? What else? Let me go with the bourbon. Let me go with the whiskey. I'm not going to touch my 18, 14-year-olds, because those are
So yeah,
special.
and so Gladys actually sent me pictures of what she had for me to go try to match it.
Yeah.
And of course, because it was a weird holiday week, busy week.
Right.
I
You
didn't
were
go
on your honeymoon, or
Yeah.
not honeymoon, but your anniversary.
Something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. I ran today to liquor stores. So the first liquor store I go to, they don't have they don't have the small bottles. I'm like, crap, I don't want to spend $100, multiple hundreds. I'm going to buy two
Right.
bottles.
Yeah.
So let me go to the other one and see if they have bottles, which is then I go down to the Little Elm one, which is the one we use a lot here for this show. And they don't either. So I'm like, okay, if I'm buying one good, I'm buying one good. And that's why I stuck with the Glenfiddich 14. And I almost was going to go with the Glenlivet 14.
Okay.
Right? But
Actually, the Glenfiddich 14 is, in my opinion, tastes a little bit better than the Glenlivet 14.
Yeah.
But the Glenlivet 18 is definitely delicious.
I know that's the one. And they, of course, didn't have any of that. If they did, they probably had it behind lock and key. So, I mean, but yeah, and I'll probably have next time Gladys and I are in person, that's probably one we're probably going to go do is the 18.
Right. And I will tell you though, even though Macallan is not my favorite because I think they're overpriced,
I didn't taste Macallan yet, but I looked at them and I thought that.
Yeah. In my opinion, they're overrated. I think Glenfiddich, like a Glenlivet 12 is definitely better than a Glenfiddich 12, but a Glenfiddich 14 is better than a Glenlivet 14. But a Glenlivet 18 is definitely better than a Glenfiddich 18. It's just weird. But at any rate, those, in my opinion, are easier to drink. I think Macallan is just overly rated. This was like the last bottle they had of this size. It was like, okay, which was quite funny. But if I ever come across a Macallan 50,
yeah,
and somebody says, I will get you a Macallan 50, even if it's just a shot of it, you know what? I'm going to savor that absolutely. Absolutely. Because you don't waste the Macallan 50. That's just special, So Macallan, send me a little bottle of your Glenlivet 50. I'll be forever grateful. I might start buying more of the Macallan.
Macallan to sponsor our show, in other words. Yeah.
And it's all it takes is one of these little guys. It's all we need. It doesn't even have to have the label. It could be like we got the last ones that didn't have the label. It's like, here you go. But believe me, we will know the difference in the taste. We're so don't, even if it doesn't have the label, don't mess with us, but the Glenlivet 50. So I'm glad at least I got these bottles. And you know what? I got introduced to John Barr. This is actually not too bad. I was wondering if I was going to like it or not. I was like going hesitant because it's like $2.49. $41 for a bottle. It is a blended Scotch. It is going to be price point. It's going to be less than your single malt. And in case you haven't heard me say it before, all Scotches are whiskeys, but not all whiskeys are Scotches. So you have to be.
That has been said on our show more than once.
As an example, usually when I'm talking about tequilas. Or other things, I use that as an example all the time, even though this is the first time we have Scotches on our podcast.
Yeah, this is the first time we've done a Scotch.
Which is funny because it was Scotch and moonshine and whiskeys that got the conversation going.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we've not done a Scotch, which is hilarious. And then Tim reminded me 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we're like, okay, we'll do it in July.
Yeah, let's do it in July. And it's unique because, we've had whiskeys and bourbons up the wazoo on this show. We've had them in by themselves. We've had them in drinks. We've had them, it's just the Scotch and then the moonshines. It's every now and then we got to throw it in. So,
right.
And this is my second shot. I got about that much left. and I am going to finish it before our show's ended.
Well, yeah, it's because you can't waste, delicious scotch. That's just no. I would rather just, it's like sometimes I'll serve myself like this much
Yeah.
and then I drink it and then I serve myself this much again versus this much and then not finish it.
Yeah,
No,
and then
I
I
don't.
finished it. Yeah, I
No.
put it in small shot. Like, well, the second one, you didn't see me when I did it. As soon as I poured it, the first thing I did was sucked an ice cube out and dropped it in.
Nice.
And I'm probably going to do that every time I open this bottle.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this one's going to be on my shelf for a while. I'm just going to say this is not something I'm going to drink every day.
Yeah. No, my I had a bottle of Glenlivet 18 that was on my shelf for 11 months. And right at the 11th month, as I'm down to my last little itty bitty, I was like, I'm almost out. But it lasted me 11 months because it was very much, I wasn't drinking it every day. But when I did, it was a special. It's like, this is the occasion. I'm going to have some right here.
I'm going to wait till Gwen gets home. I know she's going to late tonight, but I don't wait till she gets home tonight. I'm going to make her taste this. I'm probably going to have another one later.
Nightcap.
I know. Life's rough. What can I say? Anyway.
So try it out. You got your Glenlivet 12, your Macallan 12, you got a blended Scotch, and you got an absolutely delicious 14-year-old single malt Glenfiddich, which I recommend. I have the Glenfiddich at home and one at the office that have been unopened. I have not opened them. Nope. And I got them, like, one was a gift. The other one I bought, I don't know, 6-7 months ago, and I haven't touched them. I'm very particular. My scotches, I don't touch them as much as I used to, but I still absolutely love my scotches. So get a little bottle if you can, or have one at the bar and see what you like. Just ask for it neat with a little bit of water and or 1 cube. And taste it before you add the cube, then add the cube. You're going to notice the difference. Just, it's like airing out a wine. You just give it a moment to open up and then do your little swirl, and go, okay, now I'm going to try it. It's going to taste different.
Yeah. You say that. I mean, people don't understand certain things that actually enhance. I'm not going to say change, enhance the taste of alcohol. Last night, the wine we were doing, the Cab Franc, Gwen, we had these small glasses that we use, small wine glasses that we use, and we're just drinking a small glass of wine. But I took a sip out of Gwen's glass and I said, this needs a bigger glass. Why?
It needs to breathe.
It needed to breathe to go with the steak. Now, if I was probably having it by itself with crackers and cheese, different story. But the fact that I was having it with the steak, I needed both the steak flavors to robust out and I needed the wine flavors to robust out. So I put it in a bigger glass, and what does that do? You aerate a wine. It's huge. I'm going to tell you that if you didn't tell me to put that water in it, this thing would probably sit on my shelf the next 3 years before I touch it. Because I'm a neat bourbon drinker.
Mm-hmm. But it makes just a little change, a little tweak makes a huge difference.
Next thing you know, I'll actually be trying something like shepherd's pie with Guinness.
Guinness, right?
Which, if you don't know, is the standard joke on our show. That was a strange one for Tim.
Yes, glad you enjoyed it.
Because we repeated it 3 times.
Well, we do have, an insiders club that we hope you all have signed up for if you haven't already. We got so much fun things going on, invitations. There's a tequila tasting that's coming up in end of July. We have some whiskeys and a gin that's out already. We have another rye whiskey that's going to be coming out, probably bottled in September-ish, depending on, I have to go taste it. You could go tasting with me. I already have an insider that said, when are we going to go tasting?
Insiders Club. Yes, you can go to the tastings, but you have to, your expenses, you have to fly to Oregon to go with her.
Mm-hmm. I can get you the tasting. You just have to fly out here. She happens to be in Washington State, so it'll be a lot easier.
Flight and hotel, travel expenses not included.
Included. That's right. But we'll get you the tasting. Yeah. The last time she had availability, it was on a Tuesday, like 2 different Tuesdays. I'm like, they're closed for trail distilling. Right. But I do want to get her to Quartz Mountain Distillers in Washington State, which is closer to her. So there was a tasting that was going on. I couldn't make that one just because my schedule, I had already volunteered for a nonprofit. So I'm like, I'm going to be like running around with like a chicken with my head cut off. So I opted to skip that one tasting that we were invited to, but we will make it back for the next rye tasting that's going to happen. But I'll have to figure out when that is. So please go to likethewayyoudrink.com and sign up, no cost to join, and you will be one of the insiders that knows what is going on in the world of Like the Way You Drink podcast.
That's right. You'll actually get to know us ahead of time, ladies and gentlemen. And in October, we're going to do a show with insiders. Basically, they're going to come on the show with us. So go and join the Insiders Club if you want to be in the October show. So we're going to start doing that every October. Where it's going to be Insiders Month, where basically they get to come on the show and run it with us.
It's just fun stuff. You get to have a say so. Love it.
So. Other than that, what's going on with your business, girl? All right, because it's our businesses who pay the bills around here.
Mm-hmm. So. That is very true. So, that we do this because we love pairing, we love food, we love our liquor, but our businesses also are the ones that are taking care of all of this. So we will start, because usually Tim starts with me. I'm assuming he's going to start with me.
Sure, why not?
Always, ladies first, as he says.
Scotch, and you can get me to agree to anything. What can I say?
Nice. All right. I am Gladys Boutwell with Insurance by Design in Oregon, helping small businesses become employer of choice through providing employee benefits. I mainly service Oregon, Washington, and California. But guess what? We can have the conversation no matter what state you're in. I will connect you to a local broker that will take care of you. Go to enrollnoworegon.com. That's enrollnoworegon.com for my calendar. And if you want to check out all the things that I do, go to insurancedesignpros.com and you can see all my services. That's Gladys Boutwell with Insurance by Design. This is my co-host.
Oh, she's not going to tell me her name. She's going to point.
Tim, I was trying to figure out which ways my hands were going because you're on this side of me on my screen.
Here. Oh, nope, I'm on this side. See, I did it on purpose. So, guys, while we drink, we have fun on this podcast. There are two things that we are very, very serious about. And I want to take tonight's sponsorship to actually tell you why they're very, very serious. The insurance industry is very serious to Gladys. That's why she's in that business. Mm-hmm. She just chose that in order to pay the bills there, sometimes you got to do fun things. Well, you know what? There's fun things in your life, but the serious things in your life pay the bills. The other serious thing, ladies and gentlemen, to me was websites. Why? Because I found too many people in our world today that just don't have. Mm-hmm. They think that they can build a business with, hey, man, I can build a business with social media. I don't need a website. Mm-hmm. Hey, man, I can build a business, all right, by connecting with the influencers and being the hottest guy on YouTube. Not going to happen. Right? Now, I'm not saying those people don't make money, but I'm going to tell you, and this is Tim's opinion, I don't have factual data on this, but influencers are broke. We're not in this business to be influencers. We're in this business to help people. All right? And there are two foundational things that I can say why this podcast happens, because they are needed in every business. Number one is a website. Number two is insurance. Right? And with those two things, all right, they're needed in your business. If you've got those two things, well, guess what? Those two things also pay for our lifestyle. We found a way to take the necessities in life to pay for the things we want. Otherwise, I couldn't afford a $100 bottle of Scotch. Just
right.
Yeah. So, a little bit about my company, Simple Easy Websites. We created an affordable website solution for the entrepreneur, the solopreneur, and the small business person. SimpleEasyWebsites.com. Go over there. Yes, we got our trademark just two and a half weeks ago. We got our trademark finalized. So it is a trademark name, Simple Easy Websites, in the website design industry. We want to create a website for small business people. However, just like Gladys tells you that she knows people in other states, if you need a fully customized website, I know people. I can help you by pointing you out to the right people who are going to do it and not rip you off. Because there are a ton of criminal people out there who will just rip you off, all right, and take your money and farm it out to somebody in the Philippines and India to do your website and not care whether it's up or down. No, we are 100% USA based, and we will actually get your website up. And if you're not in our niche of working on websites, we have a list of people who can fit your niche to help you with your website. That's how much I care about you having your message online. SimplyEasyWebsites.com. nice little appointment with me and let's talk over your website. We do believe in WordPress websites. So if you got stuck on something on WordPress, give me a call. I probably can get you out of it. That's all I'm going to do.
Nice. Any shout outs?
Hey, you know what? I'm going to do a shout out because I have a very interesting text today. Remember a couple months ago when I was I first started going down to the Little Elm liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It was called Liquor Mart. And I will give a shout out. The guys at Liquor Mart are very, very nice to me when I got there. But it is a small liquor store and it is run by it is owned by people who probably are never there. So most of the time you're trying to deal with somebody who's just, yep, I'm the cashier of the day. However, there was a man down there, Adam, who actually always used to help us. And Adam went through some hard times. I got a text from Adam today. Adam, I'm going to give a little bit of details of what your life is. And I'm sorry, buddy, but I want people to help you out. Adam had a bout where he doesn't give me the details, but he had to spend time in jail. All right. For a dumb reason, he says. All right. And he says, he'll explain it to me one day. He says, I'm picking up the pieces and I'm building my life back with the clothes on my back. And I'm going to do better. I live in Plano now, and he gives me the address. He says, I'm working on getting his real estate license, and I'm working for a Red Lobster at the time to make ends meet. I hope you are doing well, all right, since we haven't spoken a long time. Hey, man, how's the podcast going? So we're going to shout out to Adam, all right. He was a great influential person on getting us to try different tequilas and stuff during the fall of last year and during the spring of this year. And he's hit some hard times. So, I'm probably going to go find out I'm probably going to find out by dropping in what Red Lobster he's at.
Because there aren't that many left. So I think you'll be able to find it.
Yeah. And going, hi, Adam, I'm here to order dinner tonight. Yeah. Because he's a good guy. All right. And I think we'll get him on the podcast because while he worked at the liquor store, Adam was very, very much a guy who studied his job. And you think a guy working at a liquor store is just a cashier.
There's more to it.
This man studied the alcohols, studied so he could notate, studied so he could compare things with you when he talked to you. He wasn't just somebody who went, yep, here's your sample bottle. Good luck. That wasn't Adam. So I'm going to give a shout out to you tonight, Adam. All right. I hope you're doing well. If you see our podcast, know, man, that we care about you. And we look forward to seeing you and probably having you on for an episode soon. So, how about you?
My shout out goes to my brother because he's just been running me around all over the countryside here, trying to help me find what I needed and multiple stops and, hosting me. I'm staying with him today and through tomorrow. Then I go to my retreat and then I'll be back for another few days before I head home. So shout out to my brother. Cool. He's turning 1 year older today also. So just multiple things going on all at once.
So let me guess, you're 35. He's going to be 36 this year, right?
He's 10 years older. 10, I said.
Okay.
Not one.
He's 46 and you're 36.
There you go.
I get it.
Thank you all for being here.
He's been your chauffeur for a couple days?
Yeah. Since
Friday.
I
love chauffeurs when I go to another town because I don't want to drive when I go to another town. I just want to be riding around someone else's car. Yeah.
There you go. But thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. Let's see. There's still a little bit left in my Glenlivet.
Nope. I finished mine off, honey. I emptied it twice. That being said, guys, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to call it a week. All right. We're going to see you guys next week with another fun episode. You got to be here because we don't know what next episode brings. We just have fun and enjoy this. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. I'm Tim Simply's websites. Like Gladys, we're going to say to you, cheers.